Marcus Aurelius on Why Women Never Forget. Stoic men, Stoicism. Some men are remembered for years, not because they were the loudest, not because they were the richest, not because they tried the hardest. They are remembered because something about them felt rare, calm, certain, authentic. Marcus Aurelius believed, people never remember performance for very long. They remember character. Think about the people who have left the deepest impression on your life. Years may have passed. You may barely remember what they wore. You may not remember every conversation. You may not even remember every detail of their face. Yet you remember exactly how they carried themselves, how they remained calm when everyone else became emotional, how they never seemed desperate to prove anything, how their presence quietly changed the atmosphere of every room they entered. There was something different about them, not dramatic, not theatrical, simply real. Modern culture constantly teaches men to become unforgettable, build a stronger image, speak with more confidence, stand out, be noticed, collect admiration. The Stoics quietly walked in the opposite direction. They never chased attention. They cultivated character. And something remarkable happened. The men who stopped trying to be remembered often became the ones people remembered the longest. Because there is a profound difference between attention and presence. Attention is borrowed. Presence is earned. Attention disappears the moment someone louder enters the room. Presence remains long after the person has left it. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. Although he ruled one of the greatest empires in history, he repeatedly reminded himself that reputation was fragile. Praise changed. Opinions changed. Crowds changed. Character did not. That is why he invested his energy where no one else could take it away, within himself. Most people believe unforgettable people possess extraordinary charisma. The Stoics believed they possessed extraordinary consistency. They remained the same person in success and failure, in praise and criticism, in comfort and difficulty. That quiet stability created something incredibly rare. Trust. Not the kind of trust earned through promises, the kind of trust earned through repeated actions. This is why certain people leave such a lasting impression. Not because they entertain us, because they make us feel safe, respected, calm, seen. Marcus Aurelius understood that a man's greatest influence would never come from trying to control how others saw him. It would come from controlling how he lived. That is why, in Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 2, Paragraph 1, he reminds himself to expect the imperfections of others while remaining committed to his own virtue. His focus is never on managing appearances. It is always on governing his own character. That lesson feels almost revolutionary today. The world encourages performance. The Stoics encouraged authenticity. The world rewards visibility. The Stoics rewarded integrity. The world asks, how can I make people remember me? Marcus Aurelius quietly asks something far more important. What kind of man am I becoming when nobody is watching? Because once that question is answered, everything else begins to change, including the way people remember you. The journey begins with a distinction almost nobody notices. Most men spend their lives chasing attention. The memorable ones never do. Most men chase attention. Memorable men create presence. Most men spend their lives trying to be noticed. The Stoics spent their lives becoming worth noticing. Those are completely different pursuits. Attention is immediate. Presence is lasting. Attention can be bought. Presence must be earned. Attention depends on what people see. Presence depends on who you are. Think about how the modern world defines influence. More followers, more visibility, more recognition, more applause. The assumption is simple. If enough people notice you, you become significant. The Stoics rejected that idea completely. They understood that being seen is not the same as being remembered. Imagine lighting a firework in the middle of the night. For a few brief seconds, every eye turns toward the sky. Then the light disappears. The darkness returns. Now imagine the sunrise. It makes no announcement. It asks for no attention. It simply appears. Quietly. Steadily. And everything around it changes. The Stoics wanted their character to resemble the sunrise, not the firework. Most people perform because they are afraid of being overlooked. They speak louder than necessary. They exaggerate their achievements. They constantly explain who they are. The Stoic never feels that urgency. He understands that genuine character introduces itself without words. This is why presence feels so different from attention. Presence does not compete. It does not demand. It does not chase. It simply exists. When a man is deeply comfortable with himself, people notice, not because he is trying to stand out, because he is no longer trying to fit in. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. Although he possessed unimaginable authority, he repeatedly reminded himself that his duty was never to impress those around him. His responsibility was to govern himself. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 2, Paragraph 1, he reflects on the reality that he will encounter difficult, selfish, and unreasonable people. Yet instead of asking how he should change them, he reminds himself to remain faithful to his own character. His attention never leaves the one person he can truly govern. That discipline creates extraordinary presence because people instinctively trust consistency. They trust the person whose values remain steady, whose emotions remain balanced, whose behavior does not change according to the audience. Most men adjust their personality depending on who enters the room. The Stoic brings the same character into every room. That quiet consistency becomes unforgettable. Imagine a mountain standing through every season. Summer arrives. It remains. Winter arrives. It remains. Storms come. It remains. The mountain never tries to prove its strength. Its stability proves it. The Stoics believed a man's character should become like that. Not impressive because it is loud. Impressive because it is dependable. That is what people remember. Not the clever joke. Not the expensive watch. Not the perfectly chosen words. They remember the man who never seemed to become someone else in order to earn acceptance. Because authenticity creates something performance never can. Trust. And trust always lasts longer than attention. Once a man stops chasing attention, something remarkable begins happening. People stop wondering what he is trying to prove. They begin wondering what makes him so calm. That question leads to one of the deepest reasons certain men leave such lasting impressions. It is not excitement that people remember most. It is the feeling of safety they quietly create. Women remember emotional safety. More than excitement. There is a common misunderstanding about attraction. Most people believe unforgettable relationships are built on intensity. The Stoics believed they are built on stability. Intensity captures attention. Stability earns trust. And trust leaves a far deeper mark on the human heart than excitement ever can. Think about the people who have made you feel the safest in your life. Perhaps they were not the most entertaining. Perhaps they were not the most charismatic. Perhaps they were not the most dramatic. Yet you remember them, because whenever they were present, you could breathe. You did not feel judged. You did not feel manipulated. You did not feel that you had to become someone else to earn their respect. You simply felt safe. Marcus Aurelius understood something that modern relationships often forget. A calm mind creates calm people. An unsettled mind creates unsettled relationships. That is why emotional discipline is not only a gift to yourself, it becomes a gift to everyone around you. Many men confuse emotional intensity with emotional depth. They believe unpredictable behavior creates attraction. One day they are attentive, the next day they become distant. One moment they are calm, the next they lose control. They mistake inconsistency for mystery. The Stoics rejected that completely. Marcus Aurelius believed a man's greatest strength was not the ability to create emotional highs. It was the ability to remain steady when emotions became difficult. Because anyone can appear confident when life is easy. Very few remain composed when disappointment arrives. That composure changes the emotional experience of everyone around them, especially in close relationships. Imagine walking across a bridge during a violent storm. The bridge does not become stronger because the wind disappears. It becomes trustworthy because it remains steady while the wind continues. Character works the same way. People trust the person who remains emotionally grounded while circumstances become uncertain. Not because he suppresses emotion, because he governs it. This is exactly what Marcus Aurelius practiced. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 2, Paragraph 1, he reminds himself that every day will bring difficult, impatient, selfish, and unreasonable people. Yet before meeting any of them, he makes a quiet decision. Their behavior will not determine his own. His character will remain under his command. That lesson extends far beyond philosophy. It changes relationships. When a man refuses to become reactive, arguments become calmer, conversations become safer, disagreements become more respectful. The people around him begin lowering their own defenses, not because he controls them, because emotional stability is quietly contagious. This is why many women remember Stoic men long after the relationship has ended, not because those men created emotional chaos, because they created emotional safety. Safety is rare. Safety allows honesty. Safety allows vulnerability. Safety allows trust to grow naturally. People rarely forget how someone made them feel when they were at their most vulnerable. The Stoics understood that love built upon emotional turbulence eventually exhausts itself. Love supported by emotional steadiness quietly becomes stronger over time. That is why Marcus Aurelius never tried to become irresistible. He tried to become reliable. And reliability leaves a far deeper impression than excitement ever can. Because excitement fades, trust remains. Once a man understands that, he stops trying to convince people of his worth. He quietly allows his actions to speak long before his words ever do. The man who never needs to convince anyone. Most men spend an astonishing amount of energy trying to convince other people. They explain themselves. They defend every decision. They justify every choice. They argue every opinion. They chase understanding. They chase approval. They chase agreement. The Stoics quietly chose another path. They let their lives speak before their words ever had to. Marcus Aurelius understood that truth does not become stronger because it is repeated louder. Character never needs advertising. It reveals itself over time. Imagine planting an oak tree. It never argues that it is strong. It never announces that its roots are deep. It never asks anyone to admire it. Season after season, storm after storm, its strength quietly becomes undeniable. The Stoics believed a man's character should grow the same way, not through explanation, through demonstration. Think about how often people defend themselves before anyone has even accused them. They explain why they work so hard, why they made a certain decision, why they deserve respect, why they are different. Hidden beneath all those explanations is often the same hope. Please understand me. The Stoic asks a different question. Am I living in a way that makes explanations unnecessary? That question transforms everything, because actions possess a quiet authority that arguments never achieve. Anyone can claim to be disciplined. Discipline proves itself. Anyone can claim to be honest. Honesty reveals itself. Anyone can claim to be calm. Pressure reveals the truth. Marcus Aurelius never tried to persuade people that he possessed virtue. He practiced virtue until it became visible. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 2, Paragraph 1, he reminds himself that difficult people will always exist. Yet he never writes about changing their opinions of him. Instead, he focuses entirely on governing his own conduct. His attention remains fixed on what he can become, not on what others may believe. This creates an extraordinary kind of confidence. The confidence that no longer depends on being understood immediately. Imagine carrying a priceless diamond in your pocket. You do not stop every stranger to convince them of its value. Its worth exists whether they recognize it or not. Character works the same way. When a man truly knows who he is, he stops negotiating his identity with the world. He no longer feels compelled to win every argument. He no longer needs the last word. He no longer fears being misunderstood by people who have not taken the time to understand him. He speaks when wisdom requires it. He remains silent when his ego demands it. That distinction changes relationships completely. People begin trusting him, not because he is persuasive, because he is consistent. There is remarkable peace in no longer carrying the burden of proving yourself. You begin spending your energy becoming better, instead of appearing better. Ironically, that is exactly when people begin noticing the difference, because authenticity has a quiet weight that performance can never imitate. The man who constantly explains himself creates uncertainty. The man whose actions consistently reflect his principles creates certainty, and certainty creates trust. That is why unforgettable people rarely spend their lives asking others to believe in them. They simply continue living in a way that quietly earns belief. Once a man reaches that point, another transformation begins. He discovers that what truly leaves a lasting impression is not charm, but the quiet consistency of a character that never changes with the circumstances. Consistency is more attractive than charisma. Anyone can be impressive for one evening. Very few remain admirable for years. That is the difference between charisma and character. Charisma captures attention. Character earns trust. The modern world celebrates moments. The Stoics built lives. Think about the people who have disappointed you the most. Many of them made extraordinary first impressions. They knew exactly what to say. They were confident, charming, funny, interesting. For a while, everything felt effortless. Then pressure arrived. Conflict appeared. Life became difficult. And suddenly, the person you admired disappeared. The Stoics understood why. Charm is easy to display when circumstances are easy. Character only reveals itself when circumstances become difficult. Marcus Aurelius never measured a man by how he behaved during moments of comfort. He measured him by who he remained when comfort disappeared. Because pressure removes performance, only character survives. Imagine a lighthouse standing beside the ocean. On calm days, nobody notices it. Ships pass without concern. The sky is clear. The sea is peaceful. Its true purpose is revealed only during the storm. When the waves become violent, when visibility disappears, when fear begins spreading, the lighthouse remains exactly where it has always been. Steady, reliable, unchanging. That is why sailors trust it. Not because it shines the brightest, because it shines every single night. The Stoics believed a man's character should become like that lighthouse, not extraordinary one day, and unpredictable the next. The same principles, the same honesty, the same self-control, the same respect, whether life became easier or more difficult. Marcus Aurelius practiced this discipline every day. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 2, Paragraph 1, he prepares himself to encounter difficult people before the day even begins. He does not promise to remain calm only when others behave well. He commits himself to remaining virtuous regardless of what anyone else chooses to do. That commitment creates something remarkably attractive: reliability. People rarely build lasting trust around excitement. They build it around consistency. They begin knowing what kind of person they will meet tomorrow, next week, next year. Not because you never change, because your values never do. This is especially true in relationships. Anyone can create chemistry. Anyone can create excitement. Very few create emotional stability. Very few remain patient during disagreement, respectful during conflict, kind without becoming weak, firm without becoming cruel. Those qualities cannot be performed forever. Eventually, every performance becomes exhausting. Character never does. Because character is not something you switch on. It is who you are when pretending no longer feels possible. That is why memorable men rarely leave people wondering, who is he really? Their actions answer the question long before their words ever need to. Little by little, trust grows, respect grows, admiration grows. Not because they became more charismatic, because they remained the same man through changing circumstances. That quiet consistency becomes unforgettable. And once a man no longer depends on charm to create attraction, he discovers something even more powerful. The greatest mystery has never come from saying less. It comes from needing less. Mystery comes from self-respect, not silence. The internet has strange ideas about mystery. Speak less, reply later, disappear for a few days, act unavailable, pretend you care less than you do. The Stoics would have recognized none of this as strength, because mystery is not something you create through strategy. It is something that naturally appears when your life is no longer organized around the need for approval. Most people believe mysterious people hide themselves. The Stoics believed complete people simply have nothing to prove. There is a profound difference. Imagine a river flowing toward the sea. It never announces where it is going. It never stops to convince anyone that it is powerful. It simply continues moving. Its quiet confidence comes from direction, not from performance. Character should move the same way. Many men reveal too much too quickly. Not because they are honest, because they are searching for reassurance. They explain every ambition, every insecurity, every achievement, every disappointment. Hidden beneath all those words is often the same silent question. Do you approve of me now? The Stoic quietly releases that question, not because he becomes distant, because he becomes whole. He speaks honestly. He listens carefully. He shares naturally. But he never feels compelled to expose every thought simply to feel accepted. That restraint is not manipulation. It is self-respect. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. Although he possessed immense authority, he constantly reminded himself that the only opinion capable of governing his life was his own conscience. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 2, Paragraph 1, he prepares himself to meet difficult and unreasonable people without allowing their behavior to disturb his own character. His peace does not depend upon being understood by everyone. It depends upon remaining faithful to his principles. That creates a remarkable kind of presence. People become curious about a man who is completely comfortable without explaining every part of himself. Not because he is hiding, because he is no longer performing. Imagine reading a great book. The author does not explain every sentence. He trusts the reader. The spaces between the words invite reflection. The Stoics approached conversation in much the same way. They allowed silence to exist without rushing to fill it. They answered without oversharing. They spoke with intention instead of urgency. That quiet restraint communicates something powerful. I do not need to convince you of my worth, and people instinctively feel the difference. Real mystery is never created by pretending to be unavailable. It is created by becoming internally fulfilled. When a man genuinely enjoys his own company, he no longer speaks to escape silence. When he knows his own values, he no longer explains every decision. When he respects himself, he no longer bargains for respect from others. That is why the most memorable people often reveal less. Not because they fear vulnerability, because they are no longer driven by the need for validation. Ironically, the less energy a man spends trying to appear interesting, the more interesting he becomes. Because authenticity always carries more depth than performance. People begin sensing that there is something solid beneath the surface. Not mystery created by games. Depth created by character. And once a man reaches that place, he leaves people with something far more lasting than curiosity. He leaves them with an emotional experience they never forget. People never forget how you made them feel about themselves. Years from now, very few people will remember your exact words. They may forget the stories you told, the advice you gave, the clothes you wore, even the places where you met. But they will remember something else, how they felt when they were with you. Marcus Aurelius understood that every interaction leaves an invisible mark, not because of what we say, because of who we are while we are saying it. Most men enter conversations trying to become interesting. The Stoic enters conversations trying to become present. That difference changes everything. Imagine speaking with someone who never checks their phone while you're talking, who never interrupts, who never looks around the room searching for someone more important, who listens as though, for those few moments, no one else exists. How does that make you feel? Valued. Respected? Seen. Now imagine the opposite. Someone who constantly waits for their turn to speak. Someone who turns every conversation back to themselves. Someone who listens only long enough to prepare their next response. You may remember what they said, but you rarely remember how they made you feel. The Stoics understood that attention is one of the greatest gifts one human being can offer another. Because attention silently communicates, you matter. Marcus Aurelius lived with enormous responsibilities. Every day demanded decisions that affected thousands of lives. Yet he continually reminded himself that every person deserved to be treated with justice, patience, and understanding. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 2, Paragraph 1, he prepares himself to meet people who may be selfish, impatient, or unreasonable. Yet he refuses to allow their shortcomings to become an excuse for abandoning his own kindness, fairness, or self-control. That discipline creates an emotional experience people rarely forget. Think about the people who left the deepest impression on your life. Perhaps they were not the funniest. Perhaps they were not the smartest. Perhaps they were not the most successful. But whenever you were with them, you felt calmer, safer, more confident. You felt accepted without needing to perform. That feeling remains long after the conversation ends. The Stoic understands something modern culture often overlooks. People rarely remember the perfect argument. They remember the person who remained calm during disagreement. People rarely remember clever advice. They remember the person who made them feel understood. People rarely remember impressive stories. They remember the person who never made them feel small. This is why Stoic men often become unforgettable. Not because they manipulate emotions, because they protect them. They do not create unnecessary drama. They do not play games. They do not confuse inconsistency with attraction. Their strength creates emotional stability. Their humility creates comfort. Their discipline creates trust. And trust leaves a deeper mark than excitement ever can. Imagine leaving every conversation with one quiet intention. Not, did they admire me? But, did they leave feeling more respected than when they arrived? That single question transforms relationships because your focus shifts away from yourself and toward the experience you create for others. Ironically, the less you try to become unforgettable, the more unforgettable you become, because people may forget your achievements. They may forget your success. They may even forget your name, but they almost never forget the person who made them feel more peaceful in a world full of noise. And once a man understands that, he stops asking the question that keeps so many people trapped. Will she remember me? He begins asking a far more powerful question. Would I remember the man I am becoming? Become the man you would remember. There is a question that quietly traps many men. Will she remember me? The Stoics would ask a different question, one that changes your entire life. Would I remember the man I am becoming? The first question places your happiness in someone else's memory. The second places your growth in your own hands. One creates anxiety, the other creates freedom. Imagine spending your entire life writing a book. Would you write every page trying to impress one reader? Or would you write a book so honest, so disciplined, so true to your values, that anyone who opened it could recognize its worth? Marcus Aurelius believed a man's life should become that book, not written for applause, written for integrity. Most people build their identity from reflections. They ask, what do they think of me? Did I make a good impression? Did they admire me? Every answer depends on another person. The Stoic builds his identity differently. He asks, did I act with courage? Did I remain honest? Did I govern my emotions? Did I live according to my principles? Those answers belong to him alone. That is why his confidence remains steady. It is no longer borrowed from other people's opinions. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 2, Paragraph 1, he reminds himself that every day he will meet people who are impatient, selfish, arrogant, dishonest, and difficult. Yet before meeting any of them, he makes one decision. Their character will never determine his own. His responsibility is not to control the world. It is to remain faithful to his own virtue. That perspective changes relationships completely. The Stoic no longer enters them asking, how can I make someone stay? He asks, can I remain the same man whether they stay or leave? Because real character does not depend on outcomes. It depends on consistency. Imagine looking into a mirror 20 years from now. Your appearance will have changed. Your circumstances will have changed. Many of the people in your life will have changed. Only one question will still matter. Did I become a man worthy of my own respect? The Stoics believed that was the only reputation worth protecting. Everything else fades. Beauty fades, status fades, popularity fades, charm fades, even memory fades. Character does not, because character leaves traces everywhere it goes. In every promise you kept, every temptation you resisted, every difficult conversation you handled with dignity, every person you treated with respect when you had the power to do otherwise. Those moments quietly become your legacy. Not because people remember every detail, because they remember the kind of man you consistently chose to be. Ironically, when you stop worrying about whether someone will remember you, you begin living in a way that naturally becomes unforgettable. Not through mystery, not through performance, not through manipulation, through integrity, through steadiness, through quiet strength. That is why Marcus Aurelius never tried to become unforgettable. He tried to become virtuous. He knew that if his character remained constant, memory would take care of itself. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. The goal was never to become the man every woman remembers. The goal was always to become the man you would admire if you met him yourself. Because the moment you reach that point, you no longer need anyone else's memory to confirm your worth. You have already found it within your own character. Tomorrow, you will meet people. Some will forget your words. Some will forget your face. Some will even forget your name. Marcus Aurelius never tried to become unforgettable. He tried to become virtuous. Ironically, virtue is exactly what people remember. Think back to everything you have discovered today. You learned that memorable men never chase attention. They create presence. You discovered that calm creates deeper trust than excitement. You saw that actions always outlast explanations. You learned that consistency leaves a stronger impression than charisma. You discovered that real mystery comes from self-respect rather than performance. And you saw that people almost never remember everything you said. They remember how they felt in your presence. Every one of those lessons points toward the same truth. People do not remember perfection. They remember character. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than almost anyone who has ever lived. Despite ruling an empire, he never measured his life by admiration. He measured it by virtue. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 2, Paragraph 1, he reminds himself that every day he will encounter difficult, selfish, dishonest, and impatient people. Yet his responsibility remains exactly the same: to govern his own mind, to protect his own character, to remain faithful to his principles regardless of how the world behaves. That is why his wisdom still speaks to us nearly 2,000 years later. Not because he sought immortality, because he lived with integrity. There is a quiet irony hidden inside every meaningful relationship. The harder you try to become unforgettable, the easier you are to forget. Because performance always fades. Games eventually become obvious. Attention eventually moves somewhere else. But genuine character leaves an imprint that survives long after appearances disappear. So stop asking, "Will she remember me?" Ask instead, "Will the man I become be worthy of remembering?" Because that is the only question you can truly answer. When you become emotionally steady, people remember your peace. When you become dependable, people remember your consistency. When you become honest, people remember your integrity. When you become calm, people remember how safe they felt around you. None of those qualities demands attention, yet all of them quietly earn respect. And respect lasts far longer than attraction built upon excitement. The Stoics never tried to become extraordinary in the eyes of others. They tried to become ordinary in the practice of virtue. Every day, every conversation, every decision, every difficulty. Little by little, their lives became impossible to ignore. Not because they stood above other people, because they stood firmly within themselves. That is the kind of strength no trend can replace. No opinion can destroy. No rejection can diminish. No passing season can erase. If this lesson helped you understand attraction through the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism, subscribe to the Discipline Code. Every week, we explore practical Stoic philosophy to help you build self-discipline, emotional resilience, authentic confidence, mental strength, and the kind of character that quietly earns lasting respect in every area of life. Until next time, do not spend your life trying to become someone people cannot forget. Become someone who never forgets his own principles. Because appearance fades, charm fades, status fades, recognition fades, character remains. And in the end, The people who truly matter will never remember you because you demanded their attention. They will remember you because your character brought peace, strength, and quiet certainty into their lives.